and he takes off the blanket that was covering up Justin's lap, and he's missing his entire left leg, and he's like, "Oh!" And then fucking Howard's just laughing at him the whole time. It's like, what's going on? But Justin's fucking reaction is great. He's like, my leg! There's no leg there! And Michael Parks trying not to laugh. He's like, no leg. No more leg. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content in my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video.
I'm so scared. This guy wants to turn me into an animal or something.
Being here right now. But now, my friend, now we must get to tonight's review. That review being for chat, the 2014 body horror comedy film directed by Kevin Smith, chat. The famous Kevin Smith, chat. Now, his film is Tusk, which I have seen before, this particular viewing, this most recent viewing, chat. But before we get into the nitty-gritty details of this movie, I have a very important question to you, chat. That question being, how many of you have seen 2014's Tusk, chat? I am curious. You know the rubber ducky said, I don't. I'd say Newsy Ducky, lots of fun. That's how I see it. Thank you, Tiffany's Jason. Already only the ending. Oh, what an ending it is. What an ending it is, chat. Oh, my Lord. Only a few scenes. Pretty gross. It's pretty gross. Agreed. Agreed, Cast fan. I saw one he torted back in 2014, but not since. That's your counter kid. I'll never watch this movie again. One of the few to have fully disturbed me. I love it, though. Okay, we got some fans in here. Interesting. Yep, I think the body horror stuff is interesting, but the comedy scenes hurt my soul. Yes. They're so obnoxious and so, like, we're a comedy, remember? It would have been better and funnier if they just played the whole thing straight and let the insanity speak for itself. True. There is a good movie in here. There's an interesting kind of fucked up film in here. It's just that Kevin Smith, I feel like he can't help himself, and where he feels the need to write these quote-unquote comedic scenes, and they just don't work. They're unnecessary. And you could have had a shorter movie. You could have, there's like an hour, 15-minute film here. I would have been like, this is pretty good. Solid. Jason says, I've seen it. Drums, the only thing I found disturbing about it was Johnny Depp is awful in this movie as Guy Lapointe. And he's just doing this really bad French-Canadian accent throughout the whole movie. There's like a scene that goes on, I feel like for over 15 minutes, where it's him in a McDonald's talking to Justin Long's girlfriend and Haley Joel Osment. And it's just him improving. And I'm like, what, can we cut from this? Can we cut? Please, for the love of God. Nope. We're going to have to watch him improv. It's hard. It's fucking hard to watch, yeah. Late Bloomer, drinking an Irish coffee. I love Tusk, by the way. I am drinking Irish coffee. I love my Irish coffees. And that's good. No, I'm actually glad. I'm happy to have that we have a diverse crowd of people here, Chad. People that love the movie, people that hate the movie. That's interesting. Johnny Depp scenes are dragged out way too. Yes, they are. Kung Fu Kenny, is SBMM the worst thing to happen to gaming within the last decade? SBMM? Well, I'm not sure what the abbreviation is or the acronym is. What dude on skills can see a Victor Necrophone? This solidified depths downwards. Probably was. It was one of the big ones at the time. People were like, what the fuck is happening to him? Sure. Though I think I know why he's probably in the movie. You know, there's a particularly big reason, I guess. But we'll talk about that in a second. This should have stayed a podcast. Yes. We'll talk about that too. People love the movie or Kevin Smith. That's a good question, Xavier. Listen. Like a lot of you guys, or some of you here, not all of you have seen it, seen clips and stuff. I have seen this movie. I saw it back in 2014, and I'll tell you right now, I really like the fucking trailer. Like the trailer for Tusk, it's really good. And I remember at the time, a lot of people were saying like, okay, is this his serious like horror, drama with a little bit of comedy mixed in there. It's like, oh wow, is this him maturing as a filmmaker, like switching genres on us? Maybe it's like when you think of like Jordan Peele, it's like, oh, comedian, but now, oh, fucking Get Out. It's like, no, it's like a lot of genre he loves to operate in, but it's like back in the day with Kevin Smith, maybe this is a good change of pace for him. And I'm sorry, but the trailer was legitimately like really cool and really disturbing. And I was like, I want to see this. And I was already a sucker. For those you don't know or may not know, I'm a huge fan of body horror. It's one of my favorite subgenres in horror chat. So I was like, okay, I'm liking this. The whole concept of this crazy old man kidnapping Justin Long and performing horrific body horror surgery on him, just surgery on his entire body, like removing limbs and shit, turning into a human walrus abominations. Like, that sounds really cool. And you know what? There are moments in this movie where it is really cool. There are scenes that I'm like, this is good. This is good. Let's keep it focused on here. This should have just been a bottle film. Honestly, it should have just been Justin Long and Michael Parks, who plays the character of Howard Howe, which is an awful name. Howard Howe, okay. And them together and their fucked up little relationship. But we spend so much of the movie with other characters that we just don't like or just profoundly annoying. And it's mostly it's like a whole other movie. Like, there are two separate movies. It feels like Kevin Smith is working on two different movies. One, which was this body horror film. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek to a degree. And this other one where it was just this improvisational comedy, bringing in like a big star like Johnny Depp. And people talking about their abusive relationships. And it's like, what's this? Instead of being these two separate things, let's just make them one movie. And it's like, no, it wasn't necessary. Like, you probably have like a good 45 minutes in this film, but it's just surrounded by just the most painful fucking shit. And what's so interesting about this film is that it was created on a Kevin Smith episode, or an episode of his podcast. I think it's called the Smodcast, where he, I think he had found, like, it was him and his, not Jason Mewes, but one of his other friends who had worked on various films of his. And it was where they were talking about this weird internet story about this lonely lodger, I believe, who requested like a roommate, but he had, and basically he would give all these accoutrements to the roommate, whoever they would be, but free room and board and all that shit. One of the things that he requested is that the roommate dress up as a walrus for like an hour, like every Sunday or something. And it was like for one day a week. And they ran with it. Well, this is so fucking creepy and goofy. And they expand upon it where the guy would, eventually fall in love with that person and then try to turn them into a walrus man. And how, like, the original lodger, he had spent time on, like, Nantucket Island or something, and he befriended a walrus who would frequent there, and he missed his friend. It's like, it's fucked up. It's really fucked. Ralph Garman was the co-host of the movie. Is Canadian. That's right. And so I just, like, the idea, the inception of this movie was really, actually, it was, I think it was Scott Mosier. I don't think it was Ralph Garman. I think it was Scott Mosier, who had worked with Kevin Smith on a number of films. But Ralph Garman, I know, is in a lot of Smodcat episodes. And so I was like, oh, this is a brilliant idea. It's unique for Kevin Smith. And I, like, honestly, when they're talking about it, thank you so much, by the way, Jason, for the 10 biddies. When they're talking about it, it's like, it's a funny, fucked up idea and story. Like, there's something there. There's a gem of a good idea there. It's just, I feel like Kevin Smith added too much of his typical stuff to the film, his comedy sensibilities, his pop culture references, and it just wasn't needed. Like, you could have told, I feel like, a really interesting, intimate horror drama in this with that body horror, and you would have been fine. Some of the stuff is cheap. Like, I mean, the fucking suit for the walrus is ridiculous, but the stuff beforehand is kind of horrifying. So this movie does have good moments. It's just, again, it's surrounded, chat. It's those little kernels of gold in a giant turd. That sadly is what we have, chat. That's this movie. Did not do well when it came out. It got pretty mixed to negative reviews. A lot of people saying that they had issues with the writing and particularly the inconsistent tone and Johnny Depp's performance as Guy Lapointe, who is not necessary in this film. It was a box office bomb, chat, had a budget, relatively low budget of about $3 million, only made about $1.9 million, although like all of Kevin Smith's films, that's gone on to be, I guess, a cult hit to some degree. But again, there are points in this movie where are very interesting, and there's performances that I just find very amusing. And I do like Michael Parks, who I believe had passed away a number of years ago. Actually recently, in the last 5 years or so. He does a great job as Howard, the walrus-obsessed scientist. I do love him in this movie. Outside of that, and then Justin Long plays, I mean, he's that, like, oh, he's a douchebag, but you do feel sorry for him throughout the events of the film because of just what fucking happens to him. It's a goddamn nightmare. And he has a good, there's times like, wow, he's actually really good here. Everyone else in the cast, I think, is awful. It's not all their fault. It's just bad direction and bad writing. Although, I mean, the girlfriend, Allie, I think the girlfriend is, I think, played by Genesis Rodriguez, chat. She is the number one Rodriguez, apparently. She does a good job for some of the scenes that she's in. I buy her chemistry with Justin Long, but overall, yeah, it's much like the abomination, the Mr. Tusk that Justin Long soon becomes. It is an abomination of a movie. But chat, I've told you my general thoughts, and this was the last. I think this is the last Kevin Smith film I have seen. I've not seen anything else he's done since. Now I was like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm done, shit. I mean, I'll review his other movies one day, but I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. It's too much for me. But chat, let's go ahead and start. And we start with the A24 logo, which I'm like, fucking A24 produced this movie? I was like, wow. Again, A24, it's like, oh, that is, A24 is saving cinema. Not always. They're not always saving cinema. Originally, Kevin Smith wanted to work with Blumhouse, but I think they have to pull out of the project because he had like an expedited principal photography cycle with that. And they're like, you're going too fast for us. And so he's like, I got to film this now. And they're like, well, we can't do that. We can't meet that. So he went with A24 instead, which is fucking nuts that this is an A24 movie. And when you think of like a lot of their films, The Green Knight, or Uncut Gems, or, Good Time. It's like, oh, wow, these amazing, I mean, they definitely delve into genre filmmaking, no doubt about it, but, these really character-focused, these nitty-gritty thrillers and dramas and character pieces, and they also did Tusk. They also did Tusk, yeah, which is shocking. But, yep, when I saw the A24 logo, I'm like, oh, my God, okay, fair enough. And then after the A24 logo says, based on actual events, asterisk, they should really put an asterisk there because, yes, this is inspired. They should say inspired by actual events, because the whole thing where Kevin Smith did read that guy's post online about this lodger who wanted his roommate to dress up as a walrus because he was lonely because he missed his walrus buddy on Nantucket Island back in the day. And I was like, okay, that's fair. You could say inspired by instead of based on actual events. As far as I know, no one has captured or kidnapped someone and performed horrific body horror experiments on them to turn them into a walrus-human hybrid abomination. I mean, it could have happened now. It's probably happened since then. Maybe someone did it, Chad. We just don't know about it, but do inspired by actual events. But, Chad, we start off with two really annoying podcasters, Chad, played by Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment. Their podcast name is the Nazi Podcast. You think, oh, Nazi. So they're kind of like trolls. Like, that's their general attitude. But it's really spelled N-O-T space S-E-E. It's like, I see what you're doing there. But they're literally called the Nazi Podcast. And I was like, oh. And all their dialogue, all their back and forth between each other is very smarmy, very sarcastic. I mean, it's the Smodcast. I mean, that's what it is. And the thing is, let me tell you about Kevin Smith. Probably say this briefly. Like, I don't really like Kevin Smith as a filmmaker all that much. Like, I like Clerk. I like the first Clerks. And I like Chasing Amy, I think, is his best movie. Outside of that, not a fan. I think he's a really good podcaster. And he's great at his I don't want to say if it's stand-up, but like his talks, his speaking engagements and things like that, his lectures. And I think he's really good at that. He's a great orator. I just don't think he's a very good writer or director. And he's clearly using this film I think, to kind of like, take the piss out of himself. He's kind of mocking himself and his whole Smodcast deal and all the podcasts he's done. And like, you have the Justin Long character and the Haley Joel Osment character, very much like Smith and one of his co-hosts, chat, that kind of thing. Always talking about what pop culture, or in this particular case, viral videos that they make fun of certain people. And there's this one viral video they're making fun of where it's this fat kid. It's kind of like remember Star Wars kid back in the day, chat, from like the mid 2000s, and the exception when we got YouTube, all these viral, we had all these videos that went viral. And it's like, this is like a parody version of the Star Wars kid, who I feel sorry for in hindsight. And this is like a new version of that, where you have this fat kid who's playing around with a katana, and he accidentally cuts his goddamn leg off, chat. And the CGI, which is so weird, because there is CGI in the movie, but for whatever reason, this particular shot is so fake looking, where he cuts his leg off. And it's like, is this done in After Effects or something? I could do this with my phone. Like, it just looks so inexpensive. Like, I know he had $3 million, but you could have done a better job. He cuts his fucking leg off, and all this CGI blood hits the camera. And Haley Joel Osment and Justin Long, they're laughing. Justin Long is like, well, if you guys love that video as much as we did, I'm going to go interview this fat kid, okay, who cut his leg off. He lives in Canada. And so I can't wait to talk to him. And Haley Joel Osment's like, hey, man, you have a goddamn good time. Can't wait to hear back. Because I guess that's what he does. He interviews a lot of these people who do stupid things online, and then also slightly mocks them throughout the entire interview process. So it's kind of setting them up as they're not the best of guys, really. I mean, Justin Long is pretty much an asshole in this film. But he goes to the Canadian Border Patrol, chat, which, as we know, as I've learned, chat, the Canadian Border Patrol are not to be fucked with. They're super aggressive. And this is kind of like the weaker part of the movie. It's anytime we deal with the comedy, it's like, oh, shit. And he's going back and forth with this Canadian Border Patrol agent, played by, I think the guy had a YouTube channel called Man vs. Food. I think it's that guy. I think he's also a stand-up comedian as well. But he has a very stereotypical Canadian accent. And it's like they're mentioning hockey, and you're mentioning how the Canadians have a fear of mooses, and that they're not nice, but they're polite, but they can be fucking crazy. But he's also basically warning Justin Long. He's like, listen, hey, when you go up to Canada there now, you might go run across a couple of strange characters, so be careful. And Justin Long's being so facetious and sarcastic that he doesn't take the warning, chat. Like, that character is like, he's kind of like the Stephen King character. He's like, you're going up there, are you? Some people never come back. He's like that character in Maine. Like, don't go to Maine and don't go into Canada, chat. Don't fucking do it. But Justin Long ignores him at this point, chat. And he goes there, and he goes and sees the fat kid. But however, he discovers the fat samurai kid killed himself. And it's one of the saddest scenes in the movie, where we're at this horrible wake where he's like asking for him, and the mother has this wheelchair where I guess he used to sit in after he cut his leg off of the katana. And his picture's there, and there's like no one at the wake with the exception of a couple people, and everyone's really awkward, and the mom's crying. And Justin Long, he's just fucking pissed. He's like, can you believe this guy? He calls Haley Joel Osment up, and he says, can you believe this fucking fat kid offed himself? It's like, I wanted to interview his fat ass, and now I can't do it. And, Haley Joel Osment's like, well, man, it's kind of sad that he died. He's like, who gives I don't give a shit. I don't care at all. But, as he's like, I gotta go. In the movie, he's constantly like drinking out of this big chug from like a 7-Eleven or something. And so he gets his big chug, chat, but he's got to pee after talking to Haley Joel Osment, talking about how that fat kid offed himself. He goes to the bathroom, chat, taking a wicked piss, and he looks on, there's this board. There's this fucking board with all of these like notes, personal notes, advertising, and he happens across this one particular note, chat, from a man named Howard Howe, which is an awful name, because you say that 10 times fast, chat. It's Michael Park's character. And saying that he is, he's a lonely lodger who has gotten great wealth throughout his life, and he would love to tell any particular person who would stop by the very interesting stories in his many professions, chat. And fuck Justin Long, you know what? He's a little inebriated, he's a little drunk, he's been drinking a lot of goddamn big chug. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to this guy. That's what I'm going to fucking do. Calls Haley Joel Osment. He's talking about him. Like, I'm going to interview this man. And he's like, you sure that's a good idea? He's like, it'll be fine. What's the worst that can happen? It's not going to be turned into a walrus abomination. And then, Chad, he goes over to the convenience store managers, which are being operated by the daughter of Kevin Smith and the daughter of Johnny Depp, because I think they're best friends in real life. I think that's the big reason why Johnny Depp is in the movie, because he wanted to be in a movie with his daughter, which I totally understand. I totally get that. And he's asking him like where the specific location is of this guy, his address, and they're doing the whole. Do you know where it kind of is? And it's like it's about 10 miles this way. He's like, and he's talking Haley Joel Osment. He's like, I've been told it's about 10 miles this way, and they're like, fucking hate American guys. Like he's so goddamn sarcastic, chat. But eventually he leaves and he goes to the domicile chat of Michael Parks. And it's like, all right. And it's so weird because when he's going up to the house, like we have this very scary action music, like dun 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 dun. It's like not very well placed. But he goes up there, Chad. He knocks on the goddamn door, and Michael already. It's like this is not this is a horrible situation. It's terrifying because he knocks on the door. Michael Parks just opens it. And he's like, hello, my friend. And who are you? He's like, he's in a wheelchair. Major supervillain vibes. Has an ascot on. I just don't like the way this is looking. Already pretty goddamn creepy. Justin Long, he introduces himself. He's like, hey, man, I read your fucking note. He's like, oh, yes, my note. Yes, I have another guest. Come in, may I show you my home? And he's just, I will say, Michael Parks is having a fucking blast playing this character. He gets to improv a lot. He gets to act super over-exaggerated. There's even parts where he's clearly laughing saying his lines because of how goofy they are, but he's loving playing this role, chat, of Howard Howe, the mad scientist. But good old Howard, he shows off his very beautiful home to Justin Long, and Justin Long starts noticing like these weird objects on the wall and everything, and there's this very long phallic object. He goes, hey, what's that long phallic object on the wall? He goes, oh, that is a walrus penis. And he goes, that fucking thing's a walrus penis. He goes, yes, it is. Yes, indeed. Would you like to hold it? He's fucking, Justin Long's like, he's like faking, like, I'm jerking off the walrus. Isn't this fantastic? And all that. He's like, oh, yes, you're quite annoying, aren't you? And he's like, hey, let's go sit down. And he's like, I want to tell you some stories about my life. I'm going to tell you about the day that changed my life forever, that made me realize what I wanted to be, Justin Long. And he's like, cool. And so he's like, would you like some tea? And so he gives them some tea. And they all sit down in the chairs, and like these two chairs. And Justin Long, he's loving the fucking tea shit. He keeps downing it every day. He's like, this is really good tea. He goes, yes. And he's like, would you like to know where my obsession with the walrus came from? See, the walrus, very similar to humans. Very similar. In my opinion, even greater than our species. And Justin Long's like, why do you feel that way, that the walrus is a superior species? And he says, let me tell you, years ago off the coast of, I don't know, like Maine or something, I was shipwrecked. All of my compatriots drowned. And I came across an island where I was forced to survive. It was horrible, cold. And one night when I was on the brink of death, I felt a great mass, a girthy, thick mass upon my body, Justin Long. And I thought it was Jesus himself who would come to grasp me and take me to heaven. But no! It was a walrus. It was a walrus, chat, who he affectionately named Mr. Tusk. And I spent so much time with Mr. Tusk, I suckled upon his teats, and he provided me sustenance. And it was beautiful. I loved him, Justin Long. And Justin Long's listening to this. He's starting to get like a little sleepy. He's like, love milk? He's like, yes, keep suckling, Justin. And Justin, he realizes like he's been drugged with the tea. And I will say, oh, he fucked that walrus. There's no doubt. There is no doubt he fucked that walrus, Chad. No question. But I will say, Justin Long, he acts his ass off in this movie, whether it's good or not. He tries. He does this amazing fucking fall. Like, he tries to get up, and then boom, he is down. Like, he doesn't use his arms to catch himself. Like, oh, no, I'm fainting. I'm going to try to get... No, he goes face fucking first in the ground. It's a really good fall. And then Howard's like, yes, sleep well, Mr. Tusk. It's like, you don't want someone to call you Mr. Tusk after he just talked about a walrus named Mr. Tusk. Like, what does that mean? What does that imply? Oh, boy, can't wait to find out. Eventually, chat, boom, it's the next morning. And Justin Long, he wakes up. He's in a wheelchair. He's super fucking groggy. And he's, what's going on? And then Howard's there. He's in his new clothes and everything like that. He's right up there with him. He's in his wheelchair. He goes, oh, Justin, how are you feeling? He goes, I don't feel very good. He goes, yes, you had quite a terrible time last night. He goes, what happened? He's like, oh, well, the doctor came and he had to attend to you. You see, there was this accident. A spider. What's it called? Like a brown recluse? A brown recluse spider bit you. And I'm afraid you had a horrible accident. And Justin's like, I can't feel my legs. And he goes, well, there's an explanation for that, Justin. And he takes off the blanket that was covering up Justin's lap, and he's missing his entire left leg. And he's like, oh! And then fucking Howard's just laughing at him the whole time. It's like, what's going on? But Justin's fucking reaction is great. He's like, my leg! There's no leg there! And Michael Parks trying not to laugh. He's like, no leg. No more leg. He's like, what the fuck happened, man? What happened to my fucking leg? And then he does like a fucking James Bond villain shit when he's in the goddamn wheelchair, like moving around and everything. As I said, there was a little itsy bitsy spider that crawled up your leg and it bit you. By the time the doctor came, he had to remove the leg, I'm afraid. It's like, okay. He's like, well, shouldn't I be in the hospital? Should I call somebody? He's like, no, the doctor said you must not move. You mustn't move. You mustn't move, my friend. No. And he's like, well, can I have my phone so I can call somebody? He goes, I'm sorry. When the doctor came in, the phone fell out of your pocket and he stepped on it and broke into pieces. Which I'm like, all right, this is not good. It's not good. It's like bull fucking shit. Bull fucking shit. He stepped on it and it broke into multiple pieces. I fucking think not. I fucking think not, chat. Eventually there's also another weird line where, like, before he cuts off his fucking leg and shit, you know, spoiler, he cuts off his leg. There's the whole thing where Justin Long's like, oh, that's adorable, like your relationship with this walrus. And Michael Parks says, he goes, that wasn't adorable, Justin. Chinese babies with their Chinese squinty eyes are adorable. It's like, whoa. This was survival. This was a true friendship. This was a true friendship. And I'm like, okay, but why you gotta mention the Chinese baby's eyes? It's like, all right. Why are you still on this? I know. He can't get anywhere. He's been drugged and he got his leg fucking chopped off at that point. He got nowhere to go. I was like, what do you mean Chinese babies? So eventually after that, it's later that evening when they're having dinner. You know, and fucking Justin, he's locked into the wheelchair. He's belted in, so he won't fall out, won't escape. But he's sitting there, his fucking Howard is just munching on his new meal. But Justin, he's trying to get wise now, chat, because he's like, hey, man, so what did this brown spider look like? What did this brown recluse spider look like? It was a small spider. I could barely tell what it was, Justin. I didn't know what happened until the doctor came. And he goes, yeah, and he just cut off the leg. As soon as he saw it, he goes, the poison had spread too fast. And Justin's like, there was no spider, was there? And he goes, and then all of a sudden, Michael Parks, I guess he watched Spider-Man the previous night, because he goes, the itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. and Justin's like, oh my fucking God, down came the rain and washed the spider out. Now, this is fucking scary. And so I'm like, okay, I'm kind of immersed in the movie now. It's been kind of a mixed bag with the comedy and stuff, but this is like, holy shit. And Justin's like, get me out of here, you crazy fuck. And then fucking Howard just gets up. Because before he was in a wheelchair, so already it's like, oh my God, he lied about that. And he walks over to Justin and goes, bah! He just backhands him, Chad. He goes, sleep now, Mr. Tusk. Sleep. Very Green Goblin-esque. When this happens, we then this is when the movie starts going downhill. Before, I'm kind of fucking with it. I'm liking the body horror. I love how weird this all is. It's like, okay, there's some bad comedy bits, but after this scene, Chad, it's like, here we go. And then we then cut to Justin Long getting a blowjob. Not from Howard. No, it's a flashback blowjob, Chad. Let me preface this. It's a flashback blowjob where it's his girlfriend, Allie, going down on him. And she comes up after giving him a nice big old blowy. And she's like, listen, I want to talk to you about something. He's like, what do you want to talk about, babe? And he's like, I don't really like it that you're interviewing all these people and mocking them. Don't you think that's kind of mean? And he goes, no. No, it's what I do, babe. These guys are stupid. They should be mocked. They should learn. And she goes, but that's like, I mean, how can you live with yourself doing it? It's like, babe, I've been doing it my whole life. I love it. This is what I do for a living. Don't worry about it, okay? We're the pretty people. We're always going to be pretty. Yeah, he says that now. And you don't have to fucking worry, all right? I'm going to go talk to this fat kid who cut his leg off, and it's going to be a great conversation. She's like, okay. And then she goes back and starts blowing him again, chat. And then we transition from that. Classic blowy talk. The best. But then we transition and we get a 5-minute scene of Allie staring at the camera talking about how much she hates Justin Long. Like, he's really sarcastic and he's mean-spirited and he just wants me to give him blowjobs all the time. And I've given him a lot of blowjobs, but he never goes down on me. He's like Batman. He's a very selfish lover. And it's like, this goes on for 5 fucking minutes. Like, who the hell is she talking to? And then we see this hand come in. And again, we've only been introduced to it's a relatively small cast so far. It's pretty much Justin Long. It's Michael Parks. It's the actress who plays Allie, and it's, Haley Joel Osment. And so I doubt it's the Canadian Border Patrol. I doubt it's, the 2 girls are at the convenience store, chat. So it's like, who is this person she's talking to? Because he's constantly, like, touching her face and wiping her tears away. And then she goes on and on. She says, and that's why I'm just afraid to tell him about us, about my true love for you. And the camera pans and it reveals it's Haley Joel Osment, chat. He's been fucking Allie the whole time, chat. It's crazy. Justin Long's girlfriend, Haley Joel Osment, is his best friend. It's nuts. These 2 going behind his back. And he's like, don't worry about it, babe. When he comes back from the trip, we'll talk to him, okay? We'll talk to him. And then we then cut from that. It's like, okay. Mr. Tusk was not a selfish lover. He was not selfish at all. Believe me, in more ways than you could possibly imagine. But then we cut, and Justin Long has woken up from the beating, and he gets in his wheelchair, and he finds his phone is just charging in the middle of Howard's home, middle of Michael. Like, why didn't he just throw the phone away? I don't know, but he fucking wheels himself, and he gets the phone, and he tries to call. I think he tries to call 911 at one point, and then that doesn't work for whatever reason, because as you all know, Chad, Canada police, awful, I guess. Then he calls his girlfriend. Goes to message chat because her and Haley Joel Osment just got done fucking, all right? And she's airing out the hoo-ha from all that Haley Joel Osment D. Well, Haley Joel Osment, he goes to the bathroom because he just performed fellatio on Allie, chat. So, hey, ladies, Haley Joel Osment is not a selfish lover like Justin Long or Batman, so that's fantastic. But he has to brush the teeth. He's got a lot of Allie inside of him now, and so he's got to brush the teeth. And fucking Justin Long, he then also calls him. The thing is, like, he's leaving these messages. He's like, there's this fucking crazy old man, and I shouldn't have interviewed him, and he fucking cut my leg off, and he wants to turn me into a walrus. I don't want to die in Canada, which, to be fair, I don't want to die in Canada either, that's the tagline for the movie. I don't want to die in Canada. But then eventually Howard hears him. He's like, Mr. Tusk, you shouldn't be speaking to anyone. He's like, ah! He fucking knocks him out. Chat, and he falls over, and it's like, well, that's probably not good. that's probably bad. Eventually, the next morning, after more sexy times between Allie and Haley Joel Osment, they do get the messages. They're like, oh my fucking God, Justin Long, like, he's not joking. Like, this crazy guy apparently has kidnapped him. We need to get the police on it. And so then they do that. And then we transition. We then transition after that scene, and we're with Howard, who is in his laboratory, chat, and he is just covered in Justin Long blood and meat, chat. And he's like, oh, you're ugly right now, Justin, but soon. Soon you'll be beautiful. And we pan up to Justin Long, who has gotten his other leg removed, and it's like in a bucket. But he cut off both his legs at this point, and he's taken his underarm meat and like his back meat, right? You know, he's just kind of like stripped him, and he sewed them up until he's got like flippers. You got like, remember those, like, Spider-Man has those he's got like webs. He's got skin webs now, and his hands are all gross and webby too. And so he's really gross. But he says, now I must add the final piece for your fitting, Justin. And it sounds fucking horrifying. And after that, I think are we at the point? Yes. We then cut from that scene. And we then have Howard, he's walking into this enclosure where we're just hearing just this screaming, and he's like, oh, Mr. Tusk, you must be hungry. Yes, so hungry you are. And Justin Long has been sewn into this giant meat walrus suit of other human flesh. It's his flesh, but it's also other people's flesh. And his fibulas, his leg bones, have now been fastened to his like gums. Some of his teeth's been removed, and they've been fastened like up here, and he has these giant tusks. And he's kind of like flop on the ground going, which is but again, is fucking horrifying in hindsight. It's like, the suit looks like shit, but the idea of it is amazing. And fucking Michael Parks is going, yes, time for a swim, Mr. Tusk, yes. And I guess he has this pulley. He's got his tail, his human tail thing that's made out of human flesh and giblets. He's got tied on this chain that then pulls poor Justin Long into this giant pool enclosure. And he's like, and he pulled in there. He's like, I guess he removed his vocal cords. I just don't know. I guess he just stripped all that shit out. But he's flopping. He's just fucking flopping in the water. But he's like, yes, swim. He can't fucking swim. He's so heavy at this point because of all the human mass that has been sewn onto his body. He can't do it. So he just kind of sinks. He kind of sinks in the water. And then he sees that the entire water is just filled with the dead bodies of Howard's previous experiments. Shit, all the other people he's turned into to human walrus abominations, and they're all rotting in there. And he's like, and eventually he flops back onto his little rock, while Howard's just vigorously jerking off, just the whole time watching this. After that, chat, we then get to the rest of the movie, which is Haley Joel Osment and Allie talking to people for far too long. They go and talk to one of Kevin Smith's friends, who is a police officer, and he's like, it hasn't been long enough for you to, put out the missing person thing, whatever, even though they have these messages of him, being horrified, but it's like, nah, I can't help you. And then eventually we get to Johnny Depp. And Johnny Depp, he plays a private detective named Guy Lapointe, and he's awful. There's an entire sequence in the film. It's over 10 minutes long. It might be even 15 minutes, where they're at a McDonald's or like a McDonald's equivalent restaurant, and he just goes on about hamburgers and how they give him gas and how he got fired from the police force, and he has he's cross-eyed. So anytime he's talking to you, he's not really looking at you. It's like, is he looking at me right now? I can't tell if he's staring at me or not. I don't know who he's directing to. And Haley Joel Osment looks so uncomfortable. He's like, what? I don't know what to do. While Allie's just looking directly at Johnny Depp like, this is amazing. This is fucking cinema right here. But it's so incredibly awkward as he just improvises. I believe so much of his dialogue it's like, and Kevin Smith's probably like, Johnny, keep giving this to me, baby. Like, Kevin Smith was excited just to work with Johnny Depp. There's no doubt about that. And Johnny Depp wanted to be in a movie that his daughter was in. I understand that. But my Lord, fucking awful. Now, Brownie, hey, quick, the features again. How you doing, hard hands, Naya Brownie? The Asylum, good to see you. I made it again. How have you been, Chris? I'm doing very well, man. Talking about Kevin Smith's Tusk, about Justin Long being turned into a human walrus abomination, and Johnny Depp becoming a cross-eyed caricature of Canadian culture. Not great. That part's not great. And it's just them, and there's this awful fucking flashback. This awful flashback of where Guy Lapointe, he's been researching Howard Howe for like years, and he talks about how he first met him, and we get this really awkward scene of Howard Howe and Johnny Depp talking to each other, and how Howard, as Johnny Depp describes him, is pretending to be mentally disabled. And he's talking like this. He's like, you can't be on my property. Did you see the spider? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just weird. And it's the two of them going back and forth. And I was like, can we just end this? Can we just move on to the next scene? And eventually we're on the next scene. And Johnny Depp's in the back of the car. Because it was like, okay, we're going to go see Howard now. We're going to infiltrate his complex. We got to find out where this fucker is living. Because he's constantly moving around, I guess. Okay. And so we got to go and talk to some people. Let's go in my car. More awkward fucking conversations. It's like, okay. And they move. Eventually, we go back to Howard and Justin Long. Justin Long is now starving inside the walrus suit because he hasn't eaten. And so Howard's like, would you like a fish, Mr. Tusk? Would you like sustenance? He goes, and all that. And he gives him like this giant fucking fish. Eat, my son, eat. And he's, and he eats the fish raw, and he's crying, he's so miserable and stuff. He's just howling into the air. And then after he's like eating the fish, Howard's like, I want to tell you why I did this. Why I've done these things, these horrible things. You think I don't feel guilty for all the horror and pain I've caused people for 15 years? He's been doing this for 15 years, Chad, turning people into walrus abominations. And then there's this scene where he's literally laying on top of Justin Long, and Justin Long is so filled with fish, and he's so gross and rotting now that he's kind of like, blah, he can't do anything, so he's just there. And he's like, I'll tell you what happened. When I was a boy, I was an orphan, not wanted by the world. But other people wanted me for my flesh. And it's like, whoa. I was only 5. From 5 to 10, I was abused by the priests and the clergy of the Catholic Church. They traded me around like I was some sexual object. And they fucked me. It's like, whoa. Wait, okay. And so his whole thing, the reason why I'm so fucked up is because I was sexually molested as a child by the priest. Now, I don't understand how, it's like, okay, I get that. But then the whole walrus thing, but he starts to explain. He's like, listen, there's a whole explanation. So after being molested for all those fucking years, of course, it's a Catholic church, man. Well, that's what happens, man. When you get molested by a priest, I want to create a walrus abomination suit. That's how it is. But he says because of all that trauma, he had all these odd jobs for his entire life. And eventually, it's like, and on that night, I was shipwrecked. I was supposed to die, you see, Justin. And Justin, he's at this point where he's accepted, like, I'm a walrus now. I'm kind of miserable. And he's just he rolls his eyes. He's like, all right. Okay. And he's like, and then Mr. Tusk saved me. He saved me. He provided me warmth with his girth. He provided his teats so I may suckle his sweet walrus milk. But I hungered for his flesh, Justin. I hungered for him. And I did the thing that I was taught years ago, and I took his flesh for myself, and I ate him. He ate Mr. Tusk. He fucking ate Mr. Tusk, Chad. Just ripped him up, and he's like, and I have felt guilty about it for years, and I have tried to bring back Mr. Tusk for years, and this is the first time I have succeeded. It is because of you, Justin. Let's go swimming. And so he then pulls him into the water, and they just start dancing. They start dancing in the water while Justin's like, I fucking hate my life. You would be at that point too. You'd be like, I hate everything. Eventually, we cut back to the trio of Haley Joel Osment, Allie, and Johnny Depp, and they end up at the convenience store. And I think at one point, fucking Johnny Depp somehow figures out that, Justin Long wrote down the address at the convenience store, like, notepad, like the communal notepad, and he does the little pencil trick where he rubs it so he gets to see what the outline was, and it's the address of Howard Howe. He's like, I found it, everyone! And so then he tells, like, okay, we gotta attack his facility at this point. Let's fucking go. Here are your guns. Haley Joel Osment and Allie, like, we're not really about guns. We're not kind of that thing. It's like, and fucking Johnny Depp's like, what kind of Americans are you? It's like, Jesus Christ. Well, I'm gonna take these fucking guns. Eventually, they head towards then Howard's house, chat, to stop him in his horrible walrus abomination experiments. After that, we then cut back to Justin, who is filled with fish, and he's really gross now. He's leaking everywhere, chat, just shitting all over himself. His costume is now filled with human walrus shit because he keeps getting fed raw fish, chat, and he's not doing great. Eventually, Howard comes in, and he's completely fucking naked. Completely naked, chat, just old man dick and balls out there, chat. Huge throbbing erection. And he's like, Justin. Justin's like, what now, what? He's like, I felt so guilty for all the horrible things I have done. I must die in walrus combat. And so he has also constructed a walrus suit for himself made out of human flesh with tusks. And he's like, we must duel. Whoever survives will be the true walrus, Justin. And Justin's like, okay. And so they kind of just start thrusting into each other, kind of bumping as they're trying to, like, gore each other with their tusks. And eventually Justin's like, he gets into a rage, chat. He gets into a blood rage where he finally is like, fuck this. I gotta get out of here. I just want to kill this guy for what he did to me. And he just starts stabbing the shit out of him with his tusks, like, until Howard's like, oh, it's beautiful. I'm coming, Mr. Tusk. Like, literally probably coming too. And Howard dies. Eventually, Guy Lapointe and Haley Joel Osment, Allie, they break into Howard's home where they find the various pieces of Justin Long that are still strewn about the entire, like, his foot still in that bucket, chat. Everything there, all that Justin Long meat. Eventually, they burst into the pool area where they see Justin Long going, as he's, like, stabbing poor Michael Parks and, like, eating his innards and shit. And Haley Joel Osment and Allie are, like, fucking horrified. They're like, oh my God. Johnny Depp's like, this thing needs to die. It's like, he's going to put up this vision. Like, we're going to kill this guy. We're going to fucking kill this guy. I mean, he needs death because at this point, he's fucking long gone. And then we cut. Like, he points the gun and we cut, and we see Allie and Haley Joel Osment exit out of a car, and they're going into, like, an animal. It's like 1 year later, and they're going into an animal sanctuary, and they're, like, right above this little animal enclosure, and they have this raw piece of fish, and out waddles Justin Long. He's like, it's like, whoa. And so for whatever reason, they didn't try to get him psychiatric help or something, or to remove any of the walrus parts. They're like, yeah, just put him in a walrus enclosure so he can live amongst his kind. And he just eats fish all day and just shits all over himself. That's it. But before, as they just throw the fish to him and he starts eating it. And then he has like a flashback in his head. And it's the time when Allie was giving him a blowy chat, because she's asking him, it's like, I noticed, Justin, you're always laughing all the time, but why don't you cry? He goes, I just don't fucking cry. It's not my thing. I'm not a crier, okay? I'm a laugher, okay? I'm a snickerer. I'm a giggler. That's more my thing. And she goes, but crying, my nana once told me, crying is what makes us human. And then we cut, because as he's gorging himself with fish and shitting it all out, just all over the place, and all in the suit too. So they got like a shithole for him now. They got to scoop it out. He suddenly like looks up and he starts at the camera, and we see a single tear go down his engorged walrus face, and then it ends. Tusk. And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown of Kevin Smith's 2014 comedy body horror film, Tusk. Thanks, I hate it. He can digest it not very well, because he keeps shitting all over himself all the time. Oh, my Lord. But there you go, Chad. There's the movie. The fucked up thing is I know all this, and yet hearing Chris tell it, it's like watching for the first time. There it is, right? Isn't it great? Just lower himself anytime. He totally did. Ah! Oh, God. Oh, my Lord, Chad. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Oh, what's that? Oh, no. He's mad. She's mad at me because I never watched. You don't need to watch. I never saw it, but now I never have to. Thanks, buddy. There you go. Chris Harris. Michael Parks telling his stories like Kevin Smith making this movie, and Justin Long is the audience. Exactly. It's like, what the fuck's happening? Human Centipede. It is very Human Centipede-esque. Human Centipede Party of One. Yep. I give 9. I hate it. It's bad. This movie is sick and twisted. I hate it. It's I'll tell you this. There's some good ideas here. Like this fucking guy's obsessive making someone into a walrus is like, that's interesting. It's all the other stuff outside of that sucks. Like Johnny Depp, Allie's character, Haley Joel Osment's character, like nothing. All the comedy in here is bad, except when Michael Parks is just overacting his ass off. Like there's a good 45 minutes in this movie. It's the other hour. The movie's an hour and 45 minutes. It's the other hour we don't fucking need. All those extra scenes of them just talking and riffing and comedy, and it's just so boring, and you're just like, oh my God, please, just go back to Michael Parks and Justin Long, and we just don't. Chat. Oh, my rating. Oh, God. I don't know. Shit. See, I feel like because I like some of the walrus horror that I can't give it a fuck you, but it's a super low some old bullshit. I would give this a low some old bullshit, chap. Thank you, Sirius, for the 15 minutes. Appreciate you. But it's a hell of a fucking film. Like, I might do an audio and video commentary for it just for the hell of it. Just like, I feel like I have to at this point. Just because of how weird it is. I like Kevin Smith, but I just wish he would stop making. I'm the same way, Nye Brownie. I'm the exact same way. I feel like he's a great podcaster. He's a great presenter. He's a great lecturer. But man, his writing and his filmmaking, not great. Just not great. Or at least someone should write things for him. I think that'd be a little bit better. But yeah, Chad, that is Tusk. And tomorrow I shall review The Pest. So tune in for that, my friends. That'll be fun. CJ, the boxer. Chris, have you watched Cowboy Bebop? I have not. Not yet. I will watch a couple episodes soon, though. Got to give it to Kevin Smith. He did it for the last based on a Reddit post. Oh, really? No, it was a Reddit post. That's what it was. It was a Reddit post. That was fucking nuts. It's a cool story. And that episode where he talks about it, it's awesome. Chris, Tom and Jerry is still the worst movie of 21 for? I think it is. Yeah, it's still my number one. Still my number one. No doubt. I'll be here for The Pest. Nice. I'll be doing that tomorrow. But chat, I am just going to take a quick break. In the meantime, please entertain yourselves amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. I'm going to do my review for Yu Yu Hakusho Episode 1, chat. Talking about Yusuke and all them kids. Stick around.